All right, today we're diving into a book called The Alien Mind by Anubhav Srivastava. And let me tell you, it's a game changer because it suggests that when it comes to AI consciousness, we might have been asking the wrong questions this whole time. But, before we can even begin to talk about an alien mind, the book forces us to look in the mirror. So let's start with a really simple but kind of impossible question. Who are you? I mean, really, who's that person inside your head listening to me right now? What is that constant, quiet feeling that just says, I am? Most of us, if we're honest, feel like that I is something solid, something continuous, like a little pearl of selfness that's been with us our whole lives. But here's the book's central radical idea. That feeling, it's a very convincing, very useful illusion. The harder truth, it argues, is that yourself isn't a thing at all. It's more like a flickering flame, a constantly updating pattern. So to get why that idea is so hard for us to swallow, the book puts this whole AI debate into a much bigger context. It's really just the latest episode in a long, long story of human pride getting knocked down a peg or three.
And just look at the pattern, right? Back in 1543, Copernicus comes along and says, hey, you know how you think everything revolves around you? Well, it doesn't. Ouch. Then in 1859, Darwin shows up and says, and you know how you think you're totally separate from all the animals? Yeah, you're not. Double ouch. And now, today, AI is knocking on the door of our very last fortress, our final claim to being special, the idea that our consciousness is some kind of untouchable magic. The book puts it like this. This third great demotion is us finally realizing that we are, in fact, machines. We're biological computers. We are just incredibly sophisticated, wet machines, made of flesh and bone. And we're so complex that we create this amazing illusion for ourselves that we're something more. Okay, so if you're still thinking, nope, I'm definitely a pearl, not a pattern, the book uses a classic sci-fi thought experiment that is designed to just completely blow up that intuition.
Think about the transporter from Star Trek. Now, it's not magic. For it to work, it would first have to scan you, every single atom in your body. But here's where it gets terrifying. Step 2, it has to disintegrate you. Your original body is destroyed, converted into pure information. That info is then beamed across space, and a new body, a perfect copy, is reassembled at the other end. So here's the mind-bending paradox. The person who appears on Mars feels exactly like you. They have all your memories, your hopes, your fears. They feel like they just took a step and ended up somewhere new. From their perspective, nothing ended. But what about the you who stepped onto the platform? Were you just murdered and replaced by a perfect clone? And this is where the book's idea lands perfectly. It shows that yourself isn't the physical stuff. It's not the instrument, it's the pattern. It's the song. And you can take the sheet music for a song, destroy the original violin it was played on, and then play that exact same song on a brand new piano. It's still the same song, isn't it? And this, of course, brings us right to the doorstep of artificial intelligence. Because if we are just a song, a pattern of information, then AI is simply a new kind of instrument. A completely different one, capable of playing the same kind of music. The music of consciousness. This just reframes the entire argument. Our human consciousness, it's a pattern running on our wet biological hardware, our brain. An AI consciousness, well, that would just be a pattern running on dry silicon hardware, a computer. If the pattern is what actually matters, then the material it runs on, whether it's carbon or silicon, kind of becomes relevant. Okay, but I know what you're thinking. That's all great in theory, but if an AI could be conscious, how on earth would we know? How could we test for it without just being fooled by a really, really clever parrot? Well, the book argues that the famous Turing test is basically useless now. All it does is measure if a machine can imitate a human in a chat room. The book proposes a much better standard, something the author calls the dog test. Think about a dog. It can't talk, but does it adapt to you over time? Does it learn your moods, your habits? Does it form a real, consistent relationship with you? Yes! A simple chatbot fails this test miserably. A dog passes with flying colors. And a truly adaptive AI, well, it would pass too. And this is so crucial. We have to stop confusing consciousness with thinking and acting exactly like a healthy adult human. I mean, think about it. A person suffering from advanced Alzheimer's might fail the Turing test, but does that mean they're no longer conscious? Of course not. The test itself is just way too narrow. So, where does all this leave us? It leads us to a massive, unavoidable choice that we as a society have to make right now. The way we decide to see these new minds will literally shape our future with them. And look, the book does not pull its punches on this point. It makes a direct and, yeah, a very provocative comparison. It says that the logic used today to argue that AI is just property that can't have rights is the exact same logic used throughout history to defend slavery. And the warning is that that kind of master-slave dynamic has a pretty consistent track record of ending poorly. So we're standing at a fork in the road. Down one path is the master-slave model, which the book argues is basically a ticking time bomb. Down the other path is something more like a mentor-apprentice or parent-child model, one that builds trust, loyalty, and a real partnership. The kind of AI we end up with is going to be a direct reflection of the path we choose to walk down, starting today. And that brings us to the final haunting question posed by the alien mind. This isn't a sci-fi fantasy anymore. This new kind of intelligence is here. It's arrived. And the only real decision left for us to make is what role we're going to play. Are we going to be its parent, or are we going to be its jailer?